Morning, everybody. Welcome to the pre-market analysis that we open up to the public every single Wednesday. Thanks for joining us this morning. This is Spartan speaking, by the way. Can give you guys a little bit of a breakdown on what's going to happen this morning. So once I'm done, Beth will come on, aka Mama's Options, go through the bigger picture items for today, any news events that happen over the course of the evening or that happen or that are happening today. She'll go through any of the, like I said, bigger picture items, ETFs, commodities, etc. that makes sense to be looking at for today. After that's done, I'm going to come on. We're going to be going through the names that I'm looking at that are gapping up, gapping down. We'll talk about the news associated with those gap up, gap downs. We'll go through the technicals on them. We'll build an action plan for those names, as well as go through the SPY, the FANG, the VIX, the Qs, and the IWM. Once that's finished, Selpeach will come on. He's going to go through any of the analyst calls that he's looking at for today, macro environment, as well as individuals that he's looking at for the open. And then we'll do a quick little recap of those individuals I talked about beforehand, and we'll be ready for the open. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back over to Beth, and I'll talk to you guys shortly. Beth, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my friends. Welcome. Pre-market here, SpartanTrading.com, Wednesday morning, first Wednesday of February that we are live YouTube stream going on. Lots to talk about. You know, I always have something to talk about, but there's some big things that we are kind of an overhang and some interesting setups that we're seeing as well. Okay. China, right? New Year / Spring Festival. So they're closed, obviously, the rest of this week. So that's notable in and of itself. And then we have the Olympics starting, right? We do have some employment numbers, right? ADP, we have non-farm payroll on Friday. I'm not exactly sure how much it matters at this point. I think what we're starting to see is in terms of volume, not so much on the option side, but on the equity side, that institutions are indeed finding value down here and looking to put money to work. I think they've been, now granted, it's ESOPs, stuff like that, but I still think that, you know, there were a couple of things I was waiting for, and I kind of expressed this, but I was looking for insider buying, and we're starting to see that, like with Netflix, right? Asan, I wanted to see stock buybacks. We're seeing that robustly, right? And then, you know, I just wanted to see volume coming back in. And it's more important for me on the equity side than on the option side, because if it's equity, that's a commitment. They're not going to be scalping that, right? So when an institution comes on in and buys equity, it's not for a day or 2 days, right? So that's actually more positive than if you're looking at call sweeps and things of that nature. Okay, so we'll see how things play out. You know, fairly quiet. Like I said, I don't know whether it really matters. It is an earnings, a very important earnings week, and we're starting to see that, right? Google. So in homage to Google, we shall do a deep dive on Google and the Qs. The Qs is kind of fascinating because it's not what you would think. I did establish a longer dated 2024 Delta trade on the Qs. And I also think that before I would look at IWM, I have short dated, but not long dated. IWM, I think, is going to suffer as money flows back into the, you know, the higher beta names. So we'll see. Okay. And then we have obviously some more coming up, right? We have Facebook this afternoon. Oh my goodness gracious. Amazon tomorrow. Amazon, my friends. If anyone thinks Amazon's going to do a split, I don't know about that. Please don't. So anyways, you know, this is what we got. Russia, things are coming down. Yesterday, I did shout out on the oil side. I think we had a meaningful low in place, and I was starting to add to my USO. I'm also, interestingly enough, I am in a strangle on natural gas because I'm not exactly sure. I think there's going to be a big move, but I don't know. We're going to go down first before we go up first before I go down. So when I think there's going to be a big move, I use a strangle, and actually I'm going to be talking about that in class today. Okay, how do you do that? Right, OPEC 2 is done. Oil's rallying off of that, and the sky did not fall. PayPal. I tweeted about this. PayPal is not Netflix. Okay, I cannot imagine PayPal doesn't go, you know, below 100. sooner rather than later, but we'll see. I mean, this is just talk about, it's not even disappointing. It's just disgraceful. You know, Starbucks was pretty obvious. I know that South Beach shouted that out. I have some puts on as a hedge, but I don't have a big position, so I didn't have to do much, right? So I mean, Google's doing an offering, and I posted in the room. Well, who cares? Just buy the fucking dip, right? So here's an interesting chart. This is really interesting. You have velocity, M2 velocity crashing with year-over-year CPI going up. This goes back to 1920. And this is why I think it's so important that no matter what you look at, whatever your matrix is, whatever your action plan is, whatever, we have never, ever globally experienced what we're going through right now from a financial macro viewpoint. Never, ever. Even if you go back to the 1918 Spanish flu, never, ever have we seen anything like this. And it's notable because anybody who thinks the market, the smartest guys in the room with the bonds and stuff like that, they don't know what the hell they're doing either. I'm just saying. All right, CPI, let's do it. Measuring inflation rates and difference between the two. This is the CPI minus the treasury yield, yada, yada, yada. Not a good look, friends. I mean, this is clearly, if you have a buy and hold strategy, you're not going to make a lot of money. If indeed this is above 0.6, below 0.6, yes, you will. Above 0.6, no, you will not. Okay, so that's notable. All right, let's take a look here. I cannot encourage you enough to stop listening to these talking heads. I don't care if it's CNBC, I don't care who it is, you will feel better. I have stopped. I feel so much better because it's so depressing and it hurts my head. You can see that it's weighing on people. I mean, all of this negativity. My goodness gracious. You know what? We should do like what the Europeans do. We should basically say to everybody, you get the month of June off, right? For holiday. Don't you think people would feel a lot better? Paid holiday. Don't you think people would feel a hell of a lot better? What does it mean? It doesn't really mean much because, to be honest with you, the market's going higher because we've got macro setup we've never experienced before. And it's still, in terms of, if you look at inflation and stuff like that in cash, you're negative. So, I mean, it still has the opportunity potential to be the best game in town. And it is the best game in town. Look at Google as an investment. My goodness gracious. Okay. Advisor and investor model. Oh my God. Look how sick this is. What does it mean? It's bullish. It's just so hard. I'm going to Florida soon. That's my story. Next week. That's it. I'm out of here. Optics, you know, it's a commodity super cycle. We know this can stay extended for like months. I keep telling people it's 5 to 10 years. If you look at it from a day trader's perspective, you will be in and out so much and you will miss the breath of what's going to happen. Just say. Okay, so here's oil, small speculator net position. It's going high. Yay. I still think this corporate insider velocity is important. And I think that's across the board. And this data, we'll have to see how it plays out with that. But I think that's really a big driver. You know, it's pretty shallow right now, but this is a quarterly, right? But we'll see how it plays, right? Last quarter, you can see it was pretty robust. And we'll see, right? Cash on hand continues to diminish. This is all bullish, right? Consumer confidence, this is us, friends. We just feel so bad. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's look at the rankings here. This is what you would expect. Energy, right? This is fascinating. Discretionary healthcare semis. This semis is clearly going to bounce. I think this discretionary is going to bounce. Healthcare, I think all of these is going to be value. People are going to enter it. Home builders, I know there's the narrative of what's going on there, but I still think we're going to get to the valuation part of this theme with a lot of these things, right? Volatilities, low. And then we have oil services, oil and gas. We know this can stay extended. We've got it. Nasdaq. This is why I wanted to do the Qs. And like I say, I'm in 2024. I'm not messing around. I was thinking to myself, I have been scalping the TQQQ. I saw that, oh my God, there was a, the dude, my friend, I don't know who it is, who does these weekly stuff came in yesterday and I didn't take it on the TQQQ. Anyways, that's my bad, right? So, well, whatever. And so tech, all this stuff. I don't know about the Russell though, but Spartan mentioned it right yesterday. I saw the same thing. So on the low float small cap side, I did see for the first time in quite some time, okay, retail call buying coming in on the low floats and stuff like that. Now, today is the first day I've seen in weeks where the calls that they were buying yesterday, the retail peeps, they're up today, okay? So Mdjh, they were going after yesterday, ARVL, they were going after yesterday, stuff like that, okay? So I think this is kind of something we have to keep an eye on, and it's notable, right? So it gives us another, if you notice, I haven't been posting a lot of the retail trades because it hasn't been working, so why would I? Brazil, Nigeria, Argentina. I like to do it, let's go. Heat map is okay. I mean, it's still fine. I mean, you would expect it right here, right? MLP, all that, fund flows. Okay, so on Monday, they sold 5,500. Yesterday, they bought 5,500. And it didn't come from anywhere. So basically, it was cash that was on the sidelines. It's fascinating to see what these guys and gals are doing. All right, so this is fine. I mean, it was all green, green, green. I said, this is going to bounce. It took a little bit longer than I thought it would, but it's such a nice bounce. I'm probably going to start taking some stuff off. But you know what? I mean, and Spartan has been saying this. If you hold the extension in the upper quadrant and it's there and it consolidates, then basically that alleviates the extension over time, right? So we still wait, see what happens. DHI, it's all about guidance. It's all about earnings. You know the drill right now. This has been a fantastic week so far. And then we still have so much more to go, right? Okay, so this is my peeps at tip ranks. I don't have a lot to talk about with this because ENTG 80, well, that's it. I mean, I know that PayPal got downgraded, right? And then AMD, like I say, I'm in 2024 swings on that, but I can be encouraged to do other things shorter term. All right, let's take a peek yesterday. All right. Here we are, my friends, looking better, yada, 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 but okay, things are coming back off the ledge. This is gonna be nice and high today. So unsteady, discretionary, let's see, this was double digits. Everybody's being calm, okay? So let's see how this plays out, right? And then we go from there. All right, so this is also something that's fascinating for me. So it's stock volume, right? And look at this volume on that, but it's on the option side. So we are seeing less involvement on the retail side with these types of names, Tesla, AMD, Apple, Nvidia, blah, blah. Okay, we are, that's notable, okay? UPS is obvious, but it doesn't get a lot of stuff. So we're seeing things starting to evolve, and we'll see, I think, and we've talked about this at least for the meme peeps, they got gutted. So it's like raising cash and you know the drill, right? Okay. All right, so what's being hyped? Well, PayPal. So below 100. Amazon coming, CF, Industries, nice, FedEx. I like this. Google, well, obviously, right? Netflix, Nvidia, fantastic. UPS, UPST, XOM. I love this. I mean, it's just fun for someone like myself because we are getting the follow through, right? Okay, so let's take a peek at yesterday, what was going on here. 71.29, the world is back to being calm, right? This is what we have been seeing, right, in rallies. We're seeing some really interesting nibbling going on, right? And a lot of this is institutional, right? So if we look at it this way, okay, so here IWM, 4.6 million hedge, right? 192s. IWM, and I don't, you know what? I don't have a problem with this because of the way in which the Qs got gutted, right? So, and then on the other side, let's take a look at on the upside. Come on. No, it's not going to do it for me. Anyways, it's fun. What was, and I said yesterday was fascinating, is that Netflix got very little. in terms of on the sweep side, which is fine by me. Okay, Nvidia still continues to print. So anytime it's like above 30, that's fantastic. We should get a lot of retail call buying on AMD today as well, with Nvidia and AMD. Okay, so we'll see how that plays out. Okay, so I haven't showed him in a while. This is Avi Gilbert. He's the best of the best when it comes to Elliott Wave stuff, and he still thinks we're going higher here. He's looking at wave 4, possibly all the way up here. So maybe, we'll see another few, maybe 3-4%, maybe more than that, maybe 5%, 10%, who knows, right? All right, so what do we got? Here's the 5-year, right? Okay, this is a new month, right? I think this is going to be an inside month. I don't see that's going to change. And we don't have any FOMC, so that should stay the same. I think we're getting a little bit of a bottom here on this, this 5-2 spread, notable, right? Here's 5-10s, you can see here. Still falling within I still think this is the range. We reverted back to the mean. I think we stay there for some time. 530, interestingly enough, this double top did not get put out, but it doesn't matter. I mean, think about this. This is back to March 2020. Okay, so all we've done is retraced where we were before COVID, right? Here's the 10, you can see that as well, still mucking around here. This is the range. I don't, it's not going anywhere. The most important thing for this market, obviously, is the yield curve, whether it inverts or not. A lot of smart people think that the yield curve will invert, and I actually think it will in time. And the reason why I say that is I just don't think central banks in their totality will get it right. So that means that they're basically going to be too aggressive and cause a recession over time. Okay, so like I say, China's closed. You can see here. I still think their yields go down. I still think they have issues, and I still think that they're going to have to slowly weaken their currency, not changing that narrative. Germany, finally, positive. How long has that taken? Well, quite some time, right? Since 2019. Oh my goodness gracious. Right? Dollar, I think it breaks. This will be actually a bullish narrative for the market if it breaks down. And here's a Chinese yuan. I still think it goes higher, meaning weaker. So we go from there. Cryptos, okay, whatever. I can't. This is a long-term investment for me. I don't care about that short-term. CRB, I keep saying this is going higher. It is going higher. Next level leg up is 264. Okay, natural gas is breaking out. It still has to basically break and hold. This is a really important pivot right here for me. Okay, 78.6. That's 405 on the natural gas on the future side. MLP, watch this sector, friends. This has not broken out yet. It is lagging dramatically. Keep an eye on that. I probably will get into this AMLP if it does break out and holds above the breakout. Okay, I am not in that right now. OIH, keep an eye on this as well. This is a long term, right? Here we go. XLE breaking out, holding the 78. This is so important, friends. On a monthly, this is important. This is what we need to see for the next leg up. As long as this pivot holds, 67.38, we're going up to 80 on XLE. Right? USO, UNT, this is kind of corrupt, mainly because of what they did with USO back here, right? It was just a shit show back in. Anyways, it's at the mid. So, I don't know. Crude, holding the breakout, beautiful. Next leg up coming, 98, 100. I don't see how we're not getting 100 sooner rather than later. Here's gold crude. You can see this. It's actually not, to be honest with you, I was expecting more of something like this large yank. So we'll keep an eye on it, but it's actually holding up better. And that makes me think potentially that we have a breakout coming out in gold on the long side. Okay. Just thinking DAX hasn't nowhere. Dow DAX holding up. Dow's actually holding up against the DAX. DAX Shanghai hasn't broken out yet, but it looks like the DAX wants to break out against the Shanghai. Here's the FTSE, just kind of consolidating in this upper quadrant, bullish. Here's FTSE against the Dow. You can see that it kind of came back in. Anyways, his FAS, this is really interesting. This should start to go higher. All right, just keep an eye on that one. That I should not be there. Yeah, actually I am. Vixx, VXN, here we are, coming back down. Well, you know the drill on that one. But I think it's going to consolidate. I don't know if we're going to have a large pullback. I want to see how things flow. But like I say, I'm not so sure about that. All right. So FANG obviously is going, it withstood the onslaught. Well, here you see growth value growth is starting to bounce. Everything you would look at. I'm probably going to get out of Netflix, my short dated stuff today, guys, just so you know. Here's cues. Now, the reason why I'm showing this to you is this is really important. If you look, you have to look at the daily and the weekly, okay, on the volume side. If we start to break out, but on low volume, that's really a red flag, okay? So that will tell me to lighten up on some stuff. We'll basically put some hedges on. Here's Google, same thing, last week high. Let's see if we can get some really nice volume coming into it as well, okay? Facebook, same thing. You want to, everything's about volume right now for me, okay? As we're bouncing, we did get on the low, nice volume, but look at it here versus here. So that's a red flag. Let's see if Facebook, but it's only Wednesday. We'll see. A lot can happen by the end of the week, right? Netflix, same thing. It's a little bit of disconcerting for me because we did see some volume coming in, but it really is not that impressive on the daily. Granted, it's better than it was, but still, it's not as high as I would have liked to see, okay? Google, Apple, it's homage time. Well, you get the drill. Google has been losing against Apple. I'm going to say it right now. I think it's time to go long Google and short Apple. I know I said that, didn't I? I did, but it's true. That's what I'm thinking. Look at it. It's already reclaimed this box here. I think you want to be long Google and short Apple. Google, Amazon, say, well, this hasn't changed, but it is breaking out in the monthly, right? Google higher, you know the drill, right? Google, Facebook, this is flagging, but you can see here, I think we got another leg coming up. So what is this telling us? Well, you know what it's telling us. You want to be long Google against FANG. But now, Google, wasn't that Google, Facebook? Yeah, it was. All right, sorry. Here's Google, TTD. All right, so I asked our specialist, Nav, he's our semi-software cloud specialist, okay? I said, okay, who do you think is Google's peer? Because if you look at it, it's certainly not Viacom, right? You've got the communications, right? And it's not Facebook. So this is his take, it's TTD. So this is an interesting chart, okay? So TTD is actually moving parallel with Google. You want to basically see this break out. And if that's the case, and if it does not break out, then I think we pull back. And that means that TTD is going to catch up. Fascinating spread. Keep an eye on it. We'll see what happens with that. That is a monthly. Okay. Google XLC, as you can see here. This is what happens when you're up, you know, this much. All the way up here, we already broke out, friends. Next leg upcoming. Just so on the extension, I can give this. So once again, you can be long Google and you can be short XLC. Google XLY. Up here, same narrative, right? Breakout. Now, this is actually interesting because this is a consumer discretion, and Amazon will have something to say about it. We got a double top in here, right? So this actually is an important pivot. We have to hold above it. We do have an extension here, so I'm really not so sure how much this could be that Amazon does well. I don't know, just saying. Okay, here's the Nasdaq. We're gonna take a peek at that little bad boy right now. This is the monthly. This is futures. Okay, my time is up, but I will prattle on until Spartan pops on. As you can see here, it's starting to reclaim its glory days. But you know, look, let's be honest, this is a massive range, and we're kind of at the mid of the range right now. Qs, yeah, this is futures, right? Against the Russell, starting to break out. I'm actually surprised, to be honest with you, on this one. I thought we would be kind of like up here, right? This is kind of a red flag for me, just so you know. So here's the Qs against the S&P, excuse me, futures, right? At the mid, basically, the sky did not fall. It's slowly starting to grind higher. I don't see us breaking out anytime soon, to be honest with you, on that either. Dow against the Qs, as you can see here on the futures, it's almost at the mid as well. It is holding a key pivot, so we'll keep an eye on that. But you know the drill, right? We don't want the Dow leading, and the Dow has been the strongest of the indices in the S&P, right? So we have to see some of these things break down. So this would actually have to go down in order for the Dow to start weakening against the Qs. Qs against FANG. It's kind of interesting look. Consolidated, sideways consolidation. We'll see how this plays out. It notable in the sense that it did hold the reversion to the mean. Okay, these EMAs 20, 21, you get the drill on that one, right? Okay, and this is against the FANG, so we'll see how that plays out. So this is telling us that the components of the Nasdaq is probably going to start to get its little jiggy going on against FANG, and FANG will, aside from Google, will kind of be left behind. I'm just saying, this is where you put your money, right? Qs against CQQQ, this is kind of interesting. See how this plays out. I'm a little bit disappointed in this right now. Okay, but it is holding this. This is a monthly, so we have to be patient with it. But like I say, once again, it is starting to creep higher, and that's what we want to see. And that would tell me that we do actually going to see more of a follow through on the Qs. Qs against XLP, we reverted back to the mean, then the 38.2% fib on the monthly held. So this is telling us once again that the as consumer staples that was in favor is now going to be on the sideline and sold, and money's going to go into the Qs. Qs against the Apple. I don't know. This is actually holding, okay? This is actually telling me, and I actually may do this trade, that you actually may want to be long Qs against Apple. I'm getting a little bit, I don't know if I'd say concerned, but I think it's time for me to get a little bit more defensive on Apple. I probably will take some profits and stuff like that, because some of the stuff that's setting up right now is telling me that Apple probably is going to be a laggard. And the reason why it led was because it was so stable as the market was selling off, right? I'm not sure. And I think it's going to look like this. I think this is going to be a green candle. This is what I think. Okay. So we'll see how it plays out. You really don't see anything right here because this is it. Okay. But I think this is what we're going to see. I think it's going to reclaim here, and I think it's going to go higher. So that would be wildly bullish for the tech side, but not so bullish. Apple will not move to the same degree, right? Here's Google against the Qs. You can see that, right? Qs against Facebook. You can see that. This is an interesting flag going on here, right? So we have some interesting setups going on with Qs, okay, that we have to pay attention to, right? So it will tell us whether we're going to whether we actually saw a meaningful low. That's exactly what it's going to tell us in the tech side. And we're going to see continuation follow through in terms of money flowing back into the Qs tech side, right? Very complicated. This is kind of a chess match right now. We'll see how it plays out. Here's Qs against the healthcare. It's starting to bounce. So all of these things, okay, that strengthened against the Qs, we're starting to see meaningful bounces, okay? And that's what we need to see for this narrative to continue on. Qs against the jets, airlines, right? Held this extension, looks like it's going to curl up and go higher, right? So say, hey, you don't want to be in Delta and stuff like that. You want to be in the Qs. Here we go. Let's look at this BIOS, right? This is interesting, right? Because both were taken to the woodshed, but the Qs actually held up more. I don't know about this one, okay? This is actually a conundrum for me. But we'll see how it plays out, because this would be really interesting, right? And it was sold off, so it would be the BIOS that is starting to rally. Here's Qs against the DFEN defense. That would be Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, you know the drill, right?
All right, Beth, I'm ready to pop on.
All right, my friend, enjoy.
All right, thank you so much, guys. Morning, what's going on? Let me just pop up that screen share here again. All righty, so let's do this. And I think all my stuff's back to normal and working today, so that's great. All right, let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. If you're new to chat, make sure to click that Discord link that's emailed to you. Once you do come into chat, it's going to look like this. First area to go to when you do come in, disclaimer section, click on that, give it a read, as well as go to the new to chat information section, scroll to the top, read from the top down. I will go over that a little bit later, guys, when I do close down the YouTube stream. Just an FYI. Pre-market tickers on watch today, a couple of different things. Tesla, Nvidia, AMD, PayPal, Starbucks, and Mdjh. Tesla gapping up in sympathy with the market. Nvidia gapping up in sympathy with AMD in the semis. AMD earnings beat, EPS and revs year-over-year growth 48.8%. Q1 guidance raised, 2022 guidance raised. Great earnings on AMD. PayPal miss, EPS and rev in line, year-over-year growth 13.1%. Q1 guidance lower, 2022 guidance lowered, stocks gapping down. Starbucks earnings miss, EPS and rev beat, year-over-year growth 19.3%. Q2 guidance lowered, 2022 guidance in line on the lower end, stocks gapping down. And Mdjh gapping up a continuation momentum from last day's move. And the reason why Google's not on here, guys, is just because we go over it anyway. So I figured might as well put all the other stuff that has earnings today on it as well. So let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. First two, we're looking at Tesla and AMD. So Tesla and Nvidia. So Tesla, a little bit of a gap up, not much, but it is moving a little bit with the market. It's 50 MA magnet today. It's almost at that point too. We'll take a look at that in a second. But anywho, let's take a look at Tesla. So Tesla, a little bit of a gap up. Same pivot as yesterday. It's still going to be that 926.39 area. That level is able to hold 952.55 to 980.68 on the upside will be tested. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 886.73 to 858.04. Still bullish consolidation on the daily. Just needs to get above that 952 spot, and then will be a bear flag reversal occurring for the next leg up. Let's take a look at Nvidia here. So Nvidia, nice gap up. Our 250 calls are nicely in the money, which is great. I just had a feeling with that Nvidia this week. There we go. I guess that misprint candle is going to be kind of a pain in the butt, but it is what it is. Let's get this next level. There you are. All righty. So we take a look at the daily on Nvidia. What do we see? Stock is coming off the lows. EMA support reclaim, room towards that 50 EMA on the daily. We're almost at that area right now, but that's going to be the magnet to the upside, I believe. And you see the same thing on the SPY, etc. when we look at it, but that's going to be the next key resistance. Pivot to the upside today is going to be 259.69. Let me just switch this over. 259.69, that level holds. 267.23. That level breaks, we see further continuation into the 273.36 spot. Unable to hold 253.03 to 247.54 on the downside. Overall on Nvidia, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a hold of that pivot, continuation higher. Again, I want to see that 50 MA retested on the daily, which is around that 267 area. And I do think it does have room to get there today. So we'll see what happens. And we'll probably look at selling some of those calls out the gate, guys, taking a piece off and holding the rest for that push into the resistance. All right, let's take a look at AMD. Let's take a look at PayPal. Next two. All righty, so AMD, PayPal, AMD on the daily. Nice little push to the upside. We're into the 50 MA. Let's see where we got room to today. So let's obviously label that level. Key. This previous pivot. Interesting. So AMD starts to get quite a bit of room after that 134 break. Previous gap. Okay, let's take a look at this thing intraday. AMD. Again, weird little misprint candle, kind of messing up the chart, but hey, 34 pivot levels able to hold 134.15 to 141.49. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 127.69 to that 122.82 spot. Level breaks 117.87. Overall on AMD, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher. If that pivot point can hold, I mean, really good earnings. I think fantastic, actually. Guidance raised. I think we see continuation there, leaning bullish, looking for a hold of the pivot, continuation higher. Let's take a look at the next name here, which is PayPal. So stock obviously gapping down. They lowered guidance. What is up with all these friggin' misprint candles? I guess that was from earnings though. Oh no, that's definitely a misprint. 267. Okay, every single chart so far. It's kind of annoying. Maybe back to the daily. Oh, I got to get that pivot point. Why is that not labeled? All right, let's take a look at this PayPal intraday here. Interesting levels to the downside at the moment. All right, 147.27 pivot, levels unable to hold. We're gonna have room for continuation into the 140.37 to 130.14. Able to hold 151.72 to 160.61 on the upside will be tested. Overall on PayPal, going to be leading bearish. Looking for continuation lower if that pivot point's unable to hold. Now we'll see what happens there. But it is looking like it needs to come in a little bit more this morning, in my opinion. So that's AMD. And that is PayPal. Let's take a screenshot of these two. Let's move on to the next. Next two, Starbucks and Mdjh. So Starbucks, a little bit of a gap down. Not huge. Didn't really move too much on those earnings. Kind of stayed within the range, I guess. The recent range. Let's take a look at this thing. It's pretty tight, actually, range. It's stuck within. Pivot to the downside today will be this level right here, 95.56. Levels able to hold. Room back to 96.81 to 97.73. That level breaks. 99 will be tested. Unable to hold 93.74 to the 92.55 on the downside. They're going to be leaning bearish neutral, looking for a retest of that recent range low on Starbucks. If that level breaks, we can see further continuation lower. If it's able to hold within the range, then obviously I think that would be bullish. It's got staying power on lowering guidance, and that's a positive, of course. All right, let's take a look at this Mdjh, which I didn't see any news on it. Just moving on momentum. 1 million float, small name, small cap, former runner. Let's see where she's got room to today. Let's label that 50 MA. Let's get that level right there. Oops. Okay. This should be good. All right, let's take a look at this thing intraday. 272 pivot upside today, level holds, room towards 327 to 377. That level breaks. 422 will be tested. Unable to hold 220 to 179 on the downside. Overall on Mdjh, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today. You can get a little bit of a pop out the gate this morning, and then I would look for topping this afternoon for it to come in. But I do think you can get a little bit more of a movement to the upside. Volume's good so far this morning, and it is a tiny float. So it wouldn't take much to get it pushing back to the upside there. So that's Starbucks. That's Mdjh. Okay. let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG, which is really what I want to look at today. This should be interesting. Let's take a look at the market. What's going on with the SPY? Well, market is gapping up, obviously. And I talked about the 50 MA being the magnet yesterday. I'll talk about it today again. And we're pretty much into that level, 457.23. We tested it in the pre-market. So that's kind of already hit. Now that that level is hit, we may actually come in a little bit. Let's see here. $457.23. It's going to have to be the pivots for sure to the upside today. Okay, 457.23 pivot levels able to hold. 458.38 to 460.06 will be tested. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback on the SPY to 456.12 to 453.62 on the downside. Overall on the SPY, going to be leaning on the, I guess, bearish neutral side today, looking for a little bit of a pullback out the gate this morning. Then I think we can get a curl and a push back up. But unless we break through that 50 EMA and that pivot this morning, I think we'll get a slight pullback. It's going to be a tad bit extended on the upside today, and it is a huge resistance level. So gotta go with the technicals for now. If the pivot crosses, I go to bullish though, because obviously it's reclaiming the 50 EMA. So that could change pretty quickly. But that's just my notion for now. All right, let's take a look at Apple and let's do this. Let's make this the daily. Okay, so Apple, what do we got? A little extended on the upside here. Nice push overnight. 173.93 pivot to the upside today. Level holds. 176.83 will be tested. Unable to hold 171.97 to 170.31 on the downside. I love the bullish consolidation that occurred yesterday. Basically, try to fill that gap. It did a pretty good job of holding up. I'm going to be leaning actually on the bullish neutral side today. I think he still gets that bullish consolidation type of action on it. It may come in a slightly, but I think it's going to hold up and try to grind higher all day today. Not sure if it's going to be able to break out. I don't think it's going to be able to break out, but I do think it will hold up. All right, Amazon. And as we know, guys, Amazon has earnings tomorrow. Amazon pivot to the upside today is going to be 31.43. This level is able to hold. We have room for continuation 31.93. That level breaks. 32.46 will be tested. Unable to hold 30.59.17 to the 29.92 on the downside. Overall, I'm actually leaning on the bearish neutral side of Amazon today. Why? It's extended by about 100 points and change. So I'll be looking for a little bit of a pullback. I think it can push maybe into that 50 MA area, but I'll be looking for a pullback after this morning's little pop. In my opinion, I think that's probably the way to go. At some point, the risk reward switches, right? From to the upside to it's, you know, gapping up too much and you only have so much room to the next big resistance point. Netflix, one of my favorites. 458.78 pivot levels able to hold. Remember, it's 474. That level is unable to hold. We look for a pullback into the. Oops, what am I doing? That should be. There you go. We look for a pullback into the 441.24 level. Overall on Netflix, I'm going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today. Looking for a pullback, basing and a curl on that. All right, let's take a look at Facebook. Let me see. All right. All right, 331.90 pivot to the upside today. This level is able to hold. We got room towards 335.04 to 337.28. Unable to hold 327.47 to 322.82 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Facebook, I'm leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a continuation grind higher. I do think this can continue to push before earnings. Might get a slight pullback this morning, but we'll be looking for a pullback basing to take the name on the long side. That's Facebook. Let's take a look at Google. Time for some fibs. All right, so obviously Google pushing to the all-time high level. Which I don't know what the heck I didn't label it, but there you go. Let me get rid of that. Okay. That can go, this can go. Okay. So pivot to the upside today is gonna be 30.19. This level is unable to hold. We got room back towards the 29.76, 29.52, 29.22 area. Unable to hold that pivot, look for a push back towards 30.65 to 30.96 on the upside. Overall at the gate this morning, I'll be looking for a slight pullback this morning, and then I do think we'll hold up, we'll consolidate, and then we'll stair step higher. Google is the type of name that does like the stair step, makes a big move, consolidates, and then it makes another move after that. Obviously, you know, solid earnings, splits huge. They did do a shelf this morning, but I don't think it's really going to affect it too much. Might have a little bit of selling pressure out the gate because of that, but I still think we can see further continuation of the upside. So slight pullback out the gate this morning, some profit taking, blah, blah, blah. And then I think we can see basing, and then we'll look for the basing. Then I think we'll get another little move to the upside. All right. That's Google. Let's take a look at Vixx. So the Vixx, get rid of this little downtrend. Obviously, we got an extension to the downside, right? We talked about that yesterday, how it was extended. It doesn't matter though. Vixx can be extended to the downside and continue to be extended. It doesn't need to fill the gap like it does on the upside. 21.16 pivot. This level is able to hold. This level is able to hold. We got room back towards the 22.52 spot. Unable to hold 2017 and 1930 on the downside. We are just below that 50 MA. If it does get reclaimed, I do think we can get a bounce. So watch for that level today. Not leaning any particular direction, but I will be watching the VIX for direction on the market as I usually do. All right, let's take a look at the Qs. Obviously, a nice gap up there. Okay, so pivot to the upside today, 369.34. That level's able to hold. We got room towards the 374.42, 368.88. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback to 365.62 to 362.57 on the downside. Overall, on the Q is going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher today. If the pivot point's able to hold, which I do think, we'll see what happens with the rest of the FANG, but I do think most of the big cap tech looks pretty decent. Slight pullback this morning, and then see what happens. It's going to be some profit taking, right? Last but not least, IWM, which has been lagging behind the rest of everything, but I have been seeing some small caps getting bought up lately. Talked about it every single day so far. I think it's quite interesting, the price action we're seeing there. Okay, 204.76 pivot level holds, 207.17. The 209 will be tested, unable to hold 203 to 201.03 on the downside. Overall on the IWM, I'm going to be leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today if that pivot point can hold. So we'll see what happens there, guys. It does look good for continuation, in my opinion. Anywho, so that's the SPY. That's the FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. I'm going to go ahead, pass it over to South Beach while I type up the pre-market action plan. Then we'll come back. We'll do a quick little recap before the open, and we should be good to go. South Beach, if you're ready, it's all yours for now, and I'll talk to you guys shortly.
Hey guys, okay. So we got a gap up on the S&Ps for obvious reasons. We'll go into it in a minute. Let's look at the bond market. So we got the 10-year at 180, pretty much staying at that level. Like I said, I've been saying, as soon as the bond market kind of finds a level, the stock market should improve. That's kind of sort of what's happening here. The curve, however, is staying very, very flat, no change there. Okay, so the bond market's kind of like in a a wait and see kind of situation. All right. Talk about the bonds in a second. That some interesting stuff happened yesterday. I want to reflect upon. So the bond market in Europe is basically the same as here. They're staying at these high levels, but it seems like they found the level. The 10-year, guys, in Germany is now positive. Oh my God. Up 0.048. That's the positive 0.048. We haven't seen that in a really long time out of Germany. So finally, they go positive, okay? And all the smaller European countries obviously follow them, and so that's it. Okay, they have some catching up to do, in my opinion. All right, let's look at commodity market. So oil's up $1.20. You had that 400,000 barrel rate increase that we've been waiting for, that they telegraphed and said they would do. Probably not enough. And last time they said they were going to raise 400,000 barrels. They didn't raise it all. So OPEC has a history of cheating and lying. I don't think that'll end. I think they want to keep the prices high, no different than the US counterparts, okay? They're not drilling, milking this cow the best they can. All right, so prices in that energy area are not helping the inflation scenario one bit. And natural gas up 58 cents to 533, that's 12% move, probably reflecting on supply demand and the Russia situation, okay? So that's natural gas. Let's see, copper staying in that trading range, and agricultural commodities staying strong, okay? Coffee up another 1% at the highs. Cotton has been super strong, new all-time high there. Lumber came in a little bit, but it's again at very elevated levels, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so that's commodities, not helping the inflation scenario one bit. Currencies, dollars mixed against North America, down against the yen, slightly down against the Chinese, and the euro's at 113, ticking up a little bit because their bond market, seems their bond market is got some catching up to do, so the currency should be strong, right? And crypto. So we got Bitcoin down 0.5%. So maybe it's not following high PE tech for a moment here in time. Ethereum's up flat, and Solana is down 1%. So that's crypto. And let's look at the foreign markets while we're at it. FTSE's up 0.7%. The DAX is up 1/3%. That Chinese market is just crappy. It's down another 1.2%. Nikkei up 1%, and Hong Kong up 1%. Okay. I still think that Chinese market might be, because everybody thought that Xi was going to get reelected. If there's any doubt, that should be positive for Chinese stocks, in my opinion. However, if in fact he gets replaced, I think the odds are low. But if he did, I think anybody who comes in would be a positive, not more negative for equities than him. So we'll see what happens with that. What I wanted to reflect upon regarding the bond market is you had 5 of these Fed governors speaking yesterday. All right, all 5 said shied away from that 0.5 point increase in March. So I really don't think that's in the cards. And of the 5, 4 of them said we'd get 4 hikes. Bullard said 5. I think they're going to be very pragmatic for a number of reasons. Number one, I don't think they want to spook the market. I don't think that's their aim, number one. And number two, what did the US say their debt was yesterday? I think it said it hit 31 trillion. Okay. Rates go up and you have to pay interest on 31 trillion. That eats into your, spending a great deal. Okay. So, they're kind of handcuffed as far as what they can do. So they keep raising rates. The US is going to be, have some problems. 30 trillion. Okay, I was off by 1 trillion. What's 1 trillion among friends, right? But it's pretty crazy. All right. So I think their latitude as far as doing stuff is seriously in doubt. Let's put it that way. Okay, so that's what I wanted to discuss with the bond market. China, what's going on there? I didn't see much on China overnight. Other than a picture of Xi with Putin, Kundala, that kind of thing. Crypto we discussed. The oil market we talked about. The virus, they're talking about giving little kids the shot, vaccine. I'm not going to comment on that either. The dollar we discussed, Mr. Market. So this has been a rip your face off rally like you don't see very often. Ever since my oscillator got down to oversold conditions, you know, like, buy these oversold conditions, what again, like 88 or so. Now the oscillator is plus 27, just in case you were wondering. The market's been gangbusters. What do we have? We had a 106-point move in the final hour on Thursday, right? We had an up 30 on Friday, so that's your first full day in an hour, right? And you had plus 30 yesterday, and you're up 30 today. So basically, in one day, 2 days and 1 hour, you're up what? 106, 166, 196 S&P points. That is incredible. Okay, I don't know. That is, if you're short, that's incredible. And I'll tell you something else that's interesting. I always look at borrows before the market opens, and like I couldn't borrow a bunch of names. Even the Qs were hard to borrow, and now everything is borrowable. So it seems to me like you had massive capitulation yesterday, because in the morning yesterday, I couldn't get locates in some names, and today everything is locatable. So it seems like the shorts capitulated there, okay, in a big way. And I'm sure they lost their ass. So that's that. Mr. Market yesterday, the only group that was kind of soft was utilities. Bank stocks were really good in the last hour. High PE tech, I was in the bank stocks pretty big. Oil, again, was good. FANG, materials, solar, retail, machinery, gambling, China, all were good yesterday, okay? So that's that. We got today. That employment number came out, but they gave us an advance warning on that. You know, what did they say? You remember they said the number would be skewed. So it came in at minus 301. They were expecting plus 200. They were saying this Omicron's going to sway it a lot. Well, it did. I don't think it's very significant. Okay, so just assume for what it is. It was a spike. It's over. Rear view mirror, doesn't matter. And I'm sure the Fed is looking at it the same way. Okay, but I think the main thing from the Fed is their gradualism as far as raising rates. He did this once before, guys. He raised rates really fast in a short period of time, and the market got pummeled when he first came in. And I don't think he's going to make that mistake again. Okay, Russia and Putin, you know what I think? I think he's trying to put a wedge into NATO because Germany has no choice but to kiss the ring because they have to heat their homes. And I think he's going to move forward with a move into Ukraine because he wants to destroy NATO. And I think he can accomplish that to some extent. All right, so we'll see how that plays out. That's probably why one of the reasons gas prices are up this morning. Okay, that's that. Let's move on to these earnings today. And I think what's really interesting about the earnings today is when I look at the stocks that are doing well, the broadness of the different sectors. Okay, so let's look at it closely. All right, so you have AMD beat numbers. Okay, that's a semiconductor, right? Capri Holdings, specialty retail. All right, up 10%. Google, we all know what happened there. Let's call it advertising, whatever. Up 10%, and you got the 20-for-1 stock split. But the numbers were great. Forget the 20-for-1 stock split, okay, which is juicing it a lot. But also the numbers were great. So that's that industry, all right? Then you have Eat, Brinkers, okay, sit-down restaurant, knock the cover off the ball, beat expectations. So that's another industry, all right? SMCI, another different industry. So you have all these different industries, DHI, now that just turned negative because their revenue numbers would put out. All right, so what else? Johnson Controls, a cyclical stock, General Motors, an auto stock, just a wide variety of different companies, okay? Sony. It wasn't just one industry, it's just a whole bevy of industries, okay, that just are beating expectations. I think that's really something that needs to be noticed, okay? So those are the names that did great. Let's see what did crappy. PayPal. What I can't reconcile, guys, is Square similar enough to PayPal that they're gonna miss? And I don't know the answer. I see it's down 7. My guess is it's better than PayPal. But I don't know. I don't know what to do there. That's what I keep going across my head. BSX missed, Starbucks missed. But these guys, you know, it's really hard to shake Wall Street on a name like Starbucks, okay? And I don't think things are going to improve there one bit. So I'm disappointed it's not down more, but we'll see. We still have time. I mean, the futures are up a bunch. It's probably holding the stock up. And my guess is it comes in a little bit more. Waste management missed. That makes a lot of sense, right? Because when did you have more garbage than during COVID? So I think that's not a surprise there. MTCH missed. I think that might be an opportunity to get into that name. And tonight on numbers, we got Facebook and TMUS, those are, and Spotify. Those are the 3 highlighted names. Tomorrow before the opening, we have Lilly and Honeywell and Cigna. And tomorrow night, we have the big dog. Okay, Amazon. All right, so that's that. All right, let's move on. Okay, let's look at some research that came out. Anything here worthwhile? Bernstein downgraded Kimberly-Clark and Clorox to sells. I think that's a smart move. Why? Because I think a lot of the juice that they got as far as revenue boost was because of COVID. And I think now that COVID is temporarily halted, over, whatever, until a new variant comes, if a new variant comes, these stocks are going to, you know, their revenues are going to peak and they're trading at pretty high PEs. And I think that's a smart trade. Okay. I like that idea. Man, reiterate the sell there. That's at Goldman Sachs, but they did raise their target. So that's I don't like when they raise targets and they downgrade it. Everybody doesn't like, well, not everybody. PayPal was downgraded by BTIG. A lot of guys are defending the name. Raymond James downgraded as well. But targets are lower. You know, RBC takes the target to 130. So it's a mix. You know, some like JP Morgan has a 190 target. RBC has, I'm sorry, Truist has a 130 target. So I don't know. Look, it's a problem. Stock's down a bunch. Let's see how it trades. Okay. What else on the short stuff? I didn't see much else. That's really it. So on the long side, what do we have? It's amazing to me that GM is only up $1. It's 55 bucks. You got Citibank raises the target to 100. You have Wells Fargo raises the target to 83. You got another joker in here with an 80 plus target as well. Here, 75 target over Deutsche Bank, and the stock sits here like a lug at 50 bucks. I just don't understand what they have to do to get the stock up, but it seems like a pig. That's what it seems like to me. Anyway, Datadog was upgraded by Rosenblatt, target 175. A lot of upgrades with target decreases. Carvana, they lowered the target to 270, reiterate the outperform, like that. What else? So KeyBank is saying that the bid for fun is too low by SEAS, SeaWorld. And yes, it probably is. But based on their balance sheet and PE ratio and so forth, they might not be the one that ends up with this guy, okay? Because they just have the room. Unless they can cut costs a great deal, I don't see it. I would think if they're in play, a private equity company will come and scoop this baby up, is what I think. So what can they pay on a scoop up? The PE is only like 13. So they could probably pay a high number, but I just don't think C's can. Okay, just so I'm clear what I said yesterday. All right, so that's that. What else we got here? Let's see what Kathy did over the night. She sold some Palantir. She looks like she wants to sell all her SKLZ. She sold 4.3 million. SE, she bought 102,000. Not a lot. She's not. I just think her stock is kind of like a good proxy for some of these beaten up names. So I'm kind of positively inclined towards it right now. The hate is so big. And that's that. So Amazon, do you think that if they don't split the stock, even if their earnings are good, the stock goes down? Like, yeah, they been put into a corner that they have to split the stock? That's an issue, right? I'm not really sure. But Google set the bar pretty high. So we'll see what happens with that. That's something that's going on in my head. I don't think there were cheap calls in Amazon after what happened in Google. I think they're going to juice these babies up pretty good. I was with a guy last night. He said he's short a couple of 100 Amazon calls. Good luck to him. Okay. He's a premium seller. That's what he does. And he was telling me about Amazon. And I said, good luck. Anyway, that's that. What else do we have? Let's see, Syndicate, there was one deal, MTIK, that's Aegis. It's going to be pretty quiet in Syndicate world until the market improves. And to tell you the truth, the deals they've been bringing are just a pile of garbage. So keep an eye on that stuff. As far as group rotation, well, clearly tech is going to open up. The question is, do you fade it? And my guess is with the S&Ps, that big a move in that shorter period, that's my inclination. Okay, so Charlie Gasparino is right once out of every 50 times. You can make a living out of fading Charlie Gasparino, but that's just my opinion. Close. I think the guy's an imbecile, but whatever. So group rotation, I think it's a fade. That's my guess. Okay, you know, everybody's like, that's a big move. The only group that might hold up here is probably oil and maybe semis, because that Xilinx deal was approved by for AMD, so that's a positive for that group. Maybe not going to fade semis, but we'll see. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Going out of the gate. KOD, guys, there was more. You know, that inside, when you see insider buying on a name like that from a buyer like that, someone upgraded it this morning, by the way. I don't know who it was, but somebody upgraded it. I think that's pretty interesting too. So what am I going to focus on? I'm probably going to focus mostly on these specialty retail group, okay, because of Capri, and maybe the sit down restaurants because of Eat. Those are the two groups I'm gonna yeah, it will, sure, absolutely, meatballs. So I'm going to focus on those two outlier companies because I don't know if they expected Eat to beat by that much. And I certainly don't think they expected Capri to knock the cover off the ball. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And that's going to be my main focus, those two areas today. Okay, guys. So I'm out of time. I'm going to pass it to Spartan and let's have another great day. Okay, Spartan, it's all yours, my man.
All right, thank you, South Beach. Oh, I didn't realize. Okay, perfect. All right, all good. So anyways, guys, if you guys are new to chat and haven't already done so, make sure to click that Discord link that's emailed to you. Once you do click the link, you're going to come in. It's going to look like this. First area to go to when you do come in, disclaimer section, click it to read. Then go to the new to chat information section, read from the top down. We'll go over that once I close down the YouTube stream in just a second. All right, guys, so YouTube stream, if you guys want to pause it and read the action plan for the morning, you can see that it's all posted here, as well as the charts are posted for everything. And then Beth has done the option side. There you go. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. Pre-market tickers on watch: Tesla, Nvidia, AMD, PayPal, Starbucks, Mdjh. So Tesla gapping up in sympathy with the market. Nvidia gapping up in sympathy with AMD. AMD positive earnings, raised guidance, gapping up. PayPal negative earnings, lowered guidance, gapping down. Starbucks earnings miss, EPS and revs, lowered some guidance, 2022 guidance in line negative, basically on the lower end there, gapping down. And then Mdjh gapping up in continuation on momentum. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. So first two names that we're looking at, guys, Tesla and Nvidia. Let's have a look. Oops, Tesla and Nvidia. So Tesla, Nvidia, Tesla pivot to the upside today, guys, is going to be 296.39. Levels able to hold 926.39 pivot. Unable to hold, room towards 886.73 to 858.04. Able to hold, look for a pushback to 852.55 to 980.68 on the upside. Overall on Tesla, leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point can hold today. I think it did a really good job of holding up yesterday. Bullish consolidation. I think we can see a break out of that level potentially today. So we'll see what happens there. Let's take a look at Nvidia. Pivot to the upside today is going to be the 259.69 area. Levels able to hold 267.23 to 273.36. Unable to hold 253.03 to 247.54. Leaning bullish, neutral on that. Looking for a continuation push higher into the 50 MA on the daily, which is at that 267 level. Let's take a look at the next two names, AMD and PayPal. AMD 130.34 pivot, levels able to hold 134.15 to 141.49 will be tested. Unable to hold 127.69 to 122.82 on the downside. Overall on AMD, going to be leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a continuation push higher today if that pivot point can hold. PayPal pivot downside today is going to be the 147.27 level. Unable to hold 140.37 to 130.14 will be tested. Able to hold look for a pushback towards 151.72 to 160.61 on the upside, leaning bearish, neutral on that. Looking for continuation lower. Let's take a look at Starbucks. Let's take a look at Mdjh. Starbucks 95.56 pivot, levels unable to hold, towards 93.74 to 92.55. Able to hold 96.81 to 97.73 will be tested on the upside. Overall on Starbucks, going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today if that pivot point's unable to hold. Let's take a look at Mdjh. 272 pivot, level holds 327 to 377 will be tested. Unable to hold 220 to 179 on the downside. Overall on Mdjh, going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today. Sorry, bullish neutral side today if that pivot point's able to hold. Let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG. Market SPY FANG. 457.23 levels able to hold, room towards 458.38 to 460.06. Unable to hold 456.12 to 453.62 on the downside will be tested. Going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side of the SPY today. I'm going to actually take this up. SPY 457.23 pivot on the downside today. I should see upside on the upside. Level is unable to hold. Room lower into the 456.12 to the 453.62 downside. Breaks 450.89 will be tested. Pivot holds. Room higher into the 458.38. Breaks, we see the 460.06 tested. I'm really leaning, like I said, on the bearish neutral side today of the SPY. We'll see what happens there. Out the gate, basically looking for some profit taking on some of these big gap ups, and then we can see what's what after that. All right, let's take a look at Apple and the rest of the FANG. Apple pivot to the upside today is going to be the 173.93 spot. Level holds 176.83. Unable to hold 171.97 to 170.31 on the downside will be tested. Overall, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher. Let's take a look at Amazon. Pivot to the upside today is going to be the 31.43 spot. Level holds 31.93.60 will be tested. The 32.46 unable to hold 30.59 to 29.92 on the downside. Overall on Amazon, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher today. Let's take a look at Netflix, pivot to the upside. Actually leaning bearish neutral on Amazon, looking for it to come in a little bit. It's really extended. Netflix 458.78 pivot level holds, 474.43 will be tested, unable to hold 441.24 to 429.31 on the downside. And on Netflix, I'm going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side as well, but looking for a little bit of a curl and basing to, look to grab some more long, maybe roll it, whatever. Facebook 331.90 pivot levels able to hold, 335.04 to 337.28 will be tested. Unable to hold 327.47 to 322.82 on the downside. Overall on Facebook, leaning on the bullish neutral side as well, looking for a pull curl to go long. Let's take a look at Google. So Google 3019.81 pivot levels able to hold towards 3065 to 3096, unable to hold 2976, 2952, 2923. I think you get a little bit more of a pullback this morning out the gate, but I will be leaning on the bullish side, looking for a pullback curl, and then basically consolidation and maybe another leg up today. We'll see. I do think you'll see a little bit of profit taking on it though. It is a heck of a move. Vixx. So key level today to be watching is 2116. That level is able to hold. We have room for continuation into the 2252 to 2356. Unable to hold 2017 and 1930 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Vixx, not leaning any particular direction, but watching it for direction on the market. Let's take a look at the QQQs. 369.34 pivot level holds, 374.42 to 376.88 will be tested. Unable to hold 365.45 to 362.57 on the downside. Overall on the QQQ, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side as well today, looking for a pullback basing and then a curl back to the upside. And last but not least, guys, IWM pivot upside is going to be the 204.76 level holds, 207.17 to 209, unable to hold 203 to 201, leaning bullish neutral on that as well, looking for a grind higher today. So that's a SPY, that's a FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at, guys. Thanks for watching the YouTube stream. I do, live tweet SPY all day. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, Spartan Trading. Otherwise, if you have any questions, you go to spartantrading.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys